Before we start this episode, please, everyone, follow Pop Apologist wherever you're listening to this podcast. So if it's on Spotify, it's on Apple Podcasts, either follow or subscribe, wherever that button is. It'll make sure you get episodes as they come out, and it'll really help us with our downloads. Like, we need everyone to please do this. And then if you like what you hear today, share it on your Instagram stories and tag us. We're forever grateful.
If you're feeling like Mother Teresa or extremely generous, please leave us a 5-star review if you also feel called to that.
Yes. All right. And with that, let's get to the episode.
Okay.
Well. Welcome to another episode of Pop Apologists. Chandler, it's been a minute.
Yes, I missed last week's Patreon, but I think that was actually for the best because you were able to be unshackled and unsheathed and unhinged truly in the best way. I listened to it yesterday while coming home from work, dying, laughing.
Oh my gosh.
I just honestly feel like you maybe, I don't know if you took a drug before. I don't know if you, so Kagan was like, green light, and then you pop something and then you recorded.
Green light. Chandler's not going to be on this recording. Here's your medication.
Literally, like, I don't know, whatever you took, keep taking it because it was so good. So anyways.
It's good for business.
It's good for business. Seriously.
Performance enhancing drugs are permitted on Pop Apologists. Thank you so much. That's so nice. It did feel so good to be unshackled from, any sort of censorship in 2023 and just allow our listeners to bathe in my stream of thought.
Gross.
I hope everyone enjoyed that episode. It was truly unhinged. I did call you after and we had like a moment where you were like, what did you say? But let's move forward.
Yeah. You were very excited about how much you were able to say. The episode wasn't, I don't know, I didn't find it to be as inflammatory as I nervously thought it was going to be. So I think what it was just your most enraged stream of consciousness, which I found to be refreshing. I like to bathe in it.
To be honest with you, I was also just like unafraid to really just say really weird shit and like pull in quotes from random people and say what really felt true to my soul about the Vanderpump reunion part 2. So anyway, I'm excited.
Do you know what struck me?
What?
What struck me about that episode was really you putting your philosophy degree to good work, making your professors and cohorts proud because you were pulling in Plato's cave and, other nods and allusions to, really unpack the Vanderpump Rules part 2 reunion. And I just thought about how proud you must make all your professors.
It got biblical, okay?
Yes.
There was ancient wisdom expressed in that reunion. But I also had moments of true stupidity where I couldn't remember about the Cold War, okay?
You couldn't remember like Gorbachev. Like, I don't actually know if that's the way you say that person's name, but I even know who Gorbachev was. Bring down the wall.
I couldn't even remember the president who said it. It was a fugue state episode, so everyone needs to listen to it.
Quick note on Gorbachev. Mom would always talk about that moment of like bringing down the wall and like she would get very like emotional. So I have a very emotional tie to that as well through osmosis. But I was not around or present. So it's shocking that you didn't remember.
Let's move forward to today's episode. Chandler, I have an exciting update for you. You ready?
A personal update?
A personal update.
Okay.
I have sold officially my wedding dress.
Are you getting a divorce?
Thankfully, no, I did not fire sell it out of spite, but I sold my wedding dress and I want to normalize selling wedding dresses because as a bride, I found the shopping process for wedding dresses to be extremely daunting.
Yep.
You look down at price tags and you're like, what? It's inconceivable. It's unimaginable. And so for me, the way I justified the price of my wedding dress was I was like, all right, whatever. I'm just going to sell it when I'm done. And I want to share this philosophy in case it brings some sort of peace to brides as they're shopping for wedding dresses. They can, spring for the one they really want, knowing that they will give it to another bride once they're done. Mm-hmm. Or just kind of like normalize, not feeling like you have to hang on to it forever. So these are my philosophical points about selling your wedding dress.
Okay. Buckling in.
First of all, I think that your wedding dress is meant to be ephemeral, something for the moment. And I think there's something really beautiful about, instead of having it sit in a box, just taking up space in your garage, in your storage area, in a room in your house, in your closet, letting it go have a second life. Like letting it go get worn by someone who will equally adore it.
Yeah.
Second of all, a wedding dress stored in a home puts unnecessary pressure on the daughters in that home. It's like someone's got to make use out of this wedding dress.
Totally. Future generations, it becomes their trauma.
It becomes their burden to bear. And I also think that the styles are going to change. Your daughter's not going to wear your wedding dress.
Right.
Your granddaughter is definitely not going to.
Right.
That is like a 1 in a million chance. So anyway, I think that is a very astute point, if I do say so myself.
Well, also, best case scenario is that it becomes raw materials for like a new dress. It gets cut up and, sewn into something completely different.
But again, that puts so much pressure on like all the future brides in your family. Yeah. Mom, literally growing up, she would tell us, if your mother-in-law ever is like brings you her dress and is like, I would love for you to wear this. She was like, here's your excuse. You're going to say, I've always dreamed of the day where I'm going to shop for my dress with my mom. Mom like pre-programmed this into us as we were like kindergartners.
I don't remember that, but I believe that happened.
So anyway, I just think that is another point. And then finally, I wanted to transform my wedding dress into something that can be actually worn every day. So I wanted to take the money and purchase something like a piece of jewelry, something that it's with me all the time. And so now I'm so excited because I'm like dreaming and fantasizing about what I'm going to potentially purchase with this money. It's going to be my dress like on my wrist or on my finger or whatever. So these are my thoughts. And you know what? Come at me if you disagree and we can hold a debate.
I loved those points. I think they all check out for me. You told me about selling your wedding dress, and it definitely gave me a lot of faith and hope for that future day for myself, because I realized I don't have to like basically lose a bunch of money in the wedding dress endeavor.
100%. Absolutely not. You can also, by the way, get one that's pre-owned and you can give it a second life. Like that's beautiful.
2 questions for you. How much of your wedding dress cost were you able to recoup? You don't have to say how much your dress was and how much you sold it for, but how much?
I don't know how to add or subtract, so I'm getting out my calculator.
Okay.
And it's going to take me a second because I'm not even sure I know how to.
So what you're going to do, the amount you sold your wedding dress for, you're going to divide that by...
I got 61% of the value back.
Wow. Okay, that's amazing.
Of what I paid for it.
And that's with all your self-tanner staining it, right?
Chandler, it is 8 a.m. Okay.
Sorry.
You are awake this morning.
I think 61% is a staggering resale value.
Anyway, that is something I wanted to share.
Thank you.
What's going on with you?
As you spoke about, I've been very, very busy at work, and I don't even know if I have the emotional bandwidth to unpack that. But I will say that I am hopefully going to be in a better spot in about a month from now. So I'm looking forward to that. I did not get laid off. I'll just tell everyone that. I was not under, extreme work duress because I got laid off. And I ended up going camping this weekend just to, put a cherry on top of my already hectic week. And going camping when you live in New York City is a special kind of hell because you don't have the storage space for camping gear. So you essentially have to beg, steal, borrow, rent, buy Amazon Rent. I wish Ben abided by more of the Amazon rental policy, but he doesn't. He went to REI and treated himself. I will say that he told me that he bought a 2-person sleeping bag, which I thought was cute and cozy. And we head out on our first night of camping. And, it's 1 a.m. by the time we get back to our little tent. And he unfurls what is a 1-person sleeping bag.
Stop.
A grave error had been made at REI, a huge oversight and blunder on his part. And I just kind of stared in disbelief. I was just kind of like, after the week that I've had.
Right.
I almost went full mom after everything I've done for you, after the day that I've had. Anyways, he's overhearing me, rake him over the coals for this mistake, but it was a grave error. And I just kind of was like, I can't believe, am I going to have to go sleep in the Accord?
Which honestly would probably be much more comfortable. So what did you do?
Well, thank God he had actually somewhat prepared for worst case scenario. And so we had several extra blankets and we were able to unfurl the sleeping bag. We basically just like laid it out flat and then we had extra blankets. But, you know,
Were you freezing?
no, I wasn't freezing. Ben just wanted to correct the record. He said it looked exactly like the double sleeping bag. Yes, it did. I'm sure it looked like that, but you should always double check the label. Do you want to come on the record right now? And do you want to say anything? Do you want to apologize to me?
I'd like a public apology.
He says he would like me to be nicer about the lovely weekend we had. We did have a lovely weekend besides that huge blunder. And, you know, frankly, it's Ben's responsibility to make sure that everything is perfect for our vacations. And that's
And
not
in your
on me.
life.
And in my life. And I'm not going to take responsibility for, you know, a vacation that we both decided to go on. It's, you know, it's his responsibility. So with that trial behind me, we actually were able to have a lovely time and return back to New York to our, you know, essentially tent of an apartment.
Oh, please. Your apartment is so cute. I'm just happy that you had a weekend in nature. I know the sleeping arrangements were not ideal, but did you find some rejuvenation in Mother Earth?
Oh, I absolutely did. And for what it's worth, after coming back from the camping trip, Ben and I talked about how we do want to be a family that camps with like our kids someday. And so we're just going to have a really dialed in setup. And I do look forward to getting even better at the experience. And, you know, I'm grateful for being pushed out of my comfort zone. So there you go. Hope you're happy.
Ben is really good because he is like, no, we're actually gonna be skiers. Like, you're gonna get the
Right.
clothes and you're gonna
Yep.
buy the pass. Like, instead of buying a stupid $400 dress or just like spending too much money unnecessarily on all sorts of random crap and not
Right.
being responsible and just being really bad with finances and just like not having good priorities, you are going to get a ski pass and we're going to enjoy nature together and we're going to go outside. And I think that for Bledsoe girls, we really need the push. Like,
We
we
do need the
need
push.
a benevolent dictator to get us to be rigorous. And it's sometimes some tough love really does us some good.
No, it's absolutely true. We need the push. We need a little bit of that, you know, kick in the pants to be like, no, you're gonna actually fully commit to this experience. I mean, I can't tell you the amount of times where we have been chatting about future vacations that I want to go on, and Ben has said, you know, let's just be mindful of all the PTO we want to take or all the time we want to spend skiing in December. And I've been like, oh yeah, you're right.
I love it.
I love it too. And I definitely have a bad attitude, I'll be honest. But once I am actually doing the thing, I feel so proud of myself. And
Yeah.
I do feel like Ben has made me into a more interesting, more adventurous person, even if I complain the entire time. So, anyways.
Right. Chandler's Instagram bio for a long time was I'll go, but I'll complain the whole time.
I think it still is that, to be honest.
Is it
it's still
still?
reflective of who I am.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, can I tell you about an experience in nature I just had? And I have a tip for everyone.
Oh, yeah. Did you go outside your apartment?
So, for the first time in years, I went outside my apartment of my own volition because I've realized my brain is kind of broken in certain ways. Like, I used to be a person
Okay.
that, and Chandler can attest to this, like, she could take the stand, hand on the Bible, and not perjure herself, saying that I used to run the beach trail like every day.
Your Honor, Lauren Bledsoe used to run the San Clemente Beach Trail. And, you know, I can also attest to the fact that she also used to camp with an ex-boyfriend. Hand of the square.
Yes, I used to enjoy being outside and I used to get myself outside and I used to run and I used to like crave it. And I just got so out of the habit that I lost that routine. I lost that habit.
Yeah.
And so for me, I've decided that I really want to start doing that again. But it's always been so tough because I'm like, I got to run, but I don't really want to run here in Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
It's too hot. Running on the beach is too hard. And so anyway, yesterday I was like, I'm going to go sit on the beach. Kagan was like, let's go. We're not going to bring our phones. Like, let's just go sit on the beach. Okay.
Yeah.
Like two
Yeah.
hominids. So
Yep.
anyway, we did. And it was so hot. It was so sandy. And frankly, I was just like, this is too
May I
much for
cut in?
me.
You do live
Yeah.
in Puerto Rico / Costa Rica / Mexico.
Yeah. No, it's been unseasonably hot. Like there's like
Okay.
health warnings right now about like be careful
gosh.
while going outside. It's like
Okay.
96, 97.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's
So
hot.
it was super hot and we came back in because we couldn't bear it. I went back out an hour later, but I was just like, I'm not going to set this unnecessary expectation that I'm going to go outside and I'm going to look at the sky and I'm going to commune with
Yeah.
nature and I'm just going
Yep.
to be like, why don't I just go outside and bring my phone and listen to a podcast and go on Instagram, but I'll be by the beach.
Totally.
And it really was so nice. And so anyway, perfect is the enemy of good, everyone.
So true.
And baby steps really are advised from my personal experience.
First of all, I think it's really sweet that Kagan wanted to go have a moment with you without your phone. I think that's very cute.
It was cute.
Even if it was, misery and you, very quickly decided to abort mission. Well, this is, what I've always said to you, even when you had some darker times earlier this year, like just go outside, literally bring a glass of wine or don't bring your phone or a podcast or whatever vice you want to bring and just get out of the indoor space. Like it's just so nice to feel the sun on your face, even if, it's while you're looking down at Instagram.
And honestly, Ashley always has some quote that's like, never trust a thought you have indoors, which I think is really smart.
Right.
And honestly, like I love everything Lauren Bostic is doing. I love the Skinny Confidential, but like, I also think there's a powerful message of like, get the fuck into the sun. Like just get into the sun.
Well, I think her message is more like, I'll be in the sun, but I'm going to cover every, surface of my body, which is fine. But I also think it's actually okay if every now and then, like, you face the sun unbridled. That's the right word.
Absolutely. Absolutely. No tea, no shade. Like literally adore her. Don't
Please
know
have
her.
us on your
Would love
podcast.
To, at some
Skinny
point,
Confidential. We would love to be on.
At some point, I would love to. Kagan, like literally. Okay, I'll just take the moment. I was in a very important meeting, like a huge important meeting. I'm out here. It's a big deal.
Yeah.
With this very thoughtful brand that had put together a presentation for us.
Yeah.
And I'm 15 minutes into it. This is a whole shenanigan. But I got home from my trip to St. Bart's last weekend and their Wi-Fi was not working in our home.
Yes.
There was just a lot of problems. Okay.
Yeah.
So anyway, long story short, Kagan was working on the Wi-Fi. I'm in this very important meeting. We thankfully had Wi-Fi up, but I guess he went to go optimize it. And the Wi-Fi setup is feet away from this table where I record and do all my meetings.
Yeah.
And he just blazes right past what I'm doing and just unplugs the Wi-Fi.
Stop.
Just unplugs. The meeting goes dark. Meanwhile, I had gone to Starbucks right before the meeting thinking I needed to take it there. And then 10 minutes before, he's like, Wi-Fi's back on. You can come back and take it here. So then I'm in the middle of the meeting and he just waltzes right by me and unplugs it.
You know what that unplug says? I don't care about your career. I don't take you seriously as a businesswoman.
No, what I think it says is you have carte blanche spending budget. I just got everything. We don't need you to ever make any money. Here's my credit card. That's what I think it says.
Oh, totally. Actually, that is what it said. And I'm so glad he communicated that to you. Congratulations.
Okay. Everyone heard my thoughts on Vanderpump Rules. We need to hear your thoughts on Vanderpump Rules.
Well, okay. First of all, let me say, I watched this reunion in 2 parts because I didn't really honestly have the time to sit down and watch it at length. The first half that I watched was during one of my very late night working sessions. We had to wait for something to get done, essentially in the wee hours in the morning. And we didn't have anything to do but wait. So I made everyone at work watch Vanderpump Rules, the uncensored version, which was a treat. It was honestly
perfect work activity.
Anyways, it was like 1:30 a.m. It was very crazy to watch this reunion with people who do not know the show because I felt like it was very explosive. It was very raw, James storming off. Like it was so the
real.
Tempers and the emotions were turned up to, I would say, a 9 or a 10 almost the entire time. That like watching it with people who were not familiar with the show, I almost feel like I needed to say like, it's not always like this, but it kind of always is like this.
Well, you want to say like, you don't know how good you have it. Like this is the best of the best. This is the best we've ever seen.
Totally.
Like, this is historic.
Totally. Yeah. I do want to say, did you think that James Kennedy was doing coke, which is why he kept leaving, or no?
Honestly, that's a really good question. I don't know what it would be like to be addicted to coke so much that you would need it to function.
Yeah.
Obviously. So I honestly couldn't tell you. It would
Okay.
be like someone asking me, do you think that James was doing, I don't know, like ashwagandha? I don't know. I've never tried
Right.
it.
Right.
What do you think?
I do
As a
think it's
coke addict,
very,
what do you think?
as a coke addict, I think it's very weird that he like wanted to leave so much or that he felt like he needed to pee. I feel like, I don't know, maybe he had a UTI and he just wasn't, prepared to share that on camera. But it is very weird that he like constantly was trying to walk off screen to go have a moment.
See, I pee constantly. And so that for me was very relatable.
I mean, I guess you don't know too how long this part 2 was filmed over, if it was like 3 hours or 90 minutes or whatever. Part 2
was filmed over
6
hours.
Right. But I'm just saying like how long this particular episode.
Yeah, that's true.
Anyways, I want to get into the moment when they break and Tom Sandoval asks for a break off camera. I just don't think we've ever seen this man in a more frantic state.
Well, that's what I loved about it because it just revealed so much. It revealed that he knows what he's doing.
Yes.
And I'm so capable of being swindled by a narcissist. So I think it was really revealing for me to be like, oh, wait, his relationship with Ariana was not what he said it was. It was not so pathetic and terrible. It was not so devoid of lust and passion. Like, he's a liar. He's a liar. Lying.
Right.
And I just get fooled so quickly.
Yeah. I think it was also for me strangely satisfying to see how frantic and clearly unstable he was. When he's like yelling at that production assistant or whatever, and clearly he is having to suffer. And I wanted to frankly see him suffer on camera because he can't have a moment to himself. I'm sorry, you were on a reality television show and you have
literally the point.
It's literally the point. You were being paid to be there. And the producer was like, you can go have a moment by yourself and eat lunch. Like, if you're just eating lunch by yourself, you can have a moment where, the camera might be filming you eating lunch by yourself, but you don't have to talk, but he clearly wanted to have a moment with Raquel where they could talk cameras down and, get into more nitty gritty stuff, maybe get their story straight before she was to come on. And we did actually see photos of them talking cameras like that. Remember the TMZ photos of them like during the reunion where he looks like a vampira and like he's just like it's so bad.
But that must have been after.
After everything wrapped.
I just don't think they would have allowed that.
I think they
There's
did.
No
because
way.
They snuck off. I don't know if you caught it, but they took off their mics and they snuck off.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And maybe we're going to see hidden camera footage or camera footage of that conversation.
Right.
I don't know. But that to me is like such a grave failure of just for like, Bravo. I don't even want to say Bravo. I just want to say for like documentarians everywhere, for the people who invented the camera and the microphone, like the idea
Michael
that
Moore is quaking.
No, like Thomas Edison, who invented lenses.
Right.
Like they're like turning in their grave right now that these men of valor did not pick up their cameras and just chase after them.
Right.
I need to calm down.
I'm sorry. Okay, I'm sorry to bring that up. Another grave error, huge moment was when Andy asked Tom Sandoval if he thought that Sheena had punched Raquel. And Tom Sandoval, you pointed this out, took the longest pause. I mean, I was starting to feel anxious the longer that pause went on because like if I was Raquel watching that, I mean, I'm sure she died inside because it was just a very clear moment where he could have just been like, yeah, I think there was an altercation, and his friendship with Sheena, long gone. He could burn that bridge or at least, take Raquel's side in that moment, but he couldn't even do that. He basically made the whole thing look like a lie.
I think that Tom Sandoval's backed into a corner right now because he basically, I think that he doesn't want to lose Raquel as his like feeding source of his narcissism.
Sure.
And he's going to do whatever he can to keep her around. He wants her devotion.
Right.
He wants to go do his play band and then he wants to have her on dial.
Adoring.
He wants to hook up with other girls. He wants it all. And he doesn't care about her. Okay. And I just think that he's backed into such a hard place because in order to put all these chess moves into place, he has to perform all of these acts. He has to lie. And lying is exhausting. Like lying is so tiring because you have to remember all the lies.
Right. Absolutely. But he clearly doesn't care about her because I think if he truly cared about her, he would be writing for her more. And he's not.
What do you mean writing for her in what way?
Well, I think he would have just been on her side about the Sheena altercation thing. He didn't have to say that I think Sheena punched her, decked her. He could say, I think there was an altercation, or like, I think that, something went down with Sheena and Raquel, where Sheena was physical. There was a bunch of ways where you could have, use semantics. But I thought in that moment, he didn't actually care enough, or he just wasn't willing to go to the mat for Raquel.
See, I read that the issue was that it was defamation, that he could have been sued if he said that Sheena actually punched Raquel, because that whatever that could do to any brand endorsements she has, if she can prove that's materially false, and that's the reason Raquel dropped it, because literally it puts them in a very precarious position where Sheena can take legal action.
I do wonder if there was a conversation between Raquel and Tom where she was, I'm going to go file a restraining order against Sheena. Like, I wonder if he encouraged her to do that, or if he was involved in any part. But anyways,
I
think
wouldn't
that's
be
a good
surprised
point.
if Tom Sandoval is involved in every single thing Raquel is doing. And I just also want to say that what's so hilarious to me is that they had 3 weeks to prepare for this reunion between the time the affair was found out and the time they filmed the reunion. I mean, have we ever seen like our dad prepare for trial? 3 weeks is a long time. Like, get out all the discovery, get in the conference room, lay out the binders, put together the flow chart. Remember the basic facts of when you're going to pretend that Schwartz knew. Okay. The fact that they are coming to this trial so unprepared is frankly, I mean, it is like Elaine Bredehoff adjacent.
Who's that?
That is Amber Heard's attorney.
Oh, wow. Beautiful.
Thank you.
Forgot about her. I completely agree. Okay, I want to get into another moment.
Okay.
That just continues to show the messiness of this entire cast. I already mentioned it earlier briefly, but green light. Oh my gosh. These people are so messy. And
I was sorry. I just realized what you were talking about. The pill bottle.
Yes, I'm not talking about Matthew McConaughey's book, Lauren.
I was like, green light. Okay, she's going to say what it was.
I'm not playing Red Rover. When Tom Sandoval turns to Schwartz and goes, green light, when they are mic'd, when there are cameras everywhere.
These people are idiots.
So that Tom Schwartz can pull out a full fudging pill bottle. Not even just like a discreet pill that's in his pocket, like a mint. No, they are so messy. I cannot even begin to describe how messy they are 10 years later. I don't know however long this show has been going on. And that is one of, the crowning glories, I will say, of Vanderpump Rules.
Ever heard of an Altoid box? Ever heard of a Tic Tac? Do you know how easy it is to just put it in something else? Like, these people, some of their elevators do not go to the top. And it is a joy to watch on our screens.
It is.
Absolutely.
It is. That's one of my favorite expressions you use, by the way. The elevator doesn't go to the top.
I was ready for you to tell me it was offensive.
No, okay. I think it's hilarious. Another bit of news that broke in the last, 3 to 4 days is that Taylor Swift and Matty Healy are no longer ensconced. The backgrid photos have shriveled and dried up. And, Matty has gone back on tour in Europe for the 1975, and sources have confirmed that, the two have split up. And I just want to say, I want to just clear the air on this. And maybe, I don't know if I've expressed this, but these two have never made sense to me. I think that Taylor literally, she takes up 60% of my subconscious thoughts these days. So I know a little bit about her. Taylor is a little too on the nose, and Matty is a little too cool. These two were always like oil and vinegar, oil and water, whatever. And I just never fully understood their connection, because I just feel like they operate in like different pop star stratospheres. And I'm not saying one is better than the other. Actually, I'll say that I think Taylor is obviously bigger and incredible than the 1975, even though I do like the 1975. But I never thought these two were going to last. I do think it's interesting because there was so much fan backlash. I do wonder how much that played into maybe Tree Payne having a come to Jesus moment with Taylor.
A mighty change of heart.
But the last thing I'm going to say on this subject, because, it was only essentially like a 3-week-long relationship. We've all been there. I just think we're going to see a lot more of Taylor's love life via backgrid.
We absolutely are. We're going to see a lot more candidates. We're going to see a lot more fashion. Taylor is going to be in our lives a lot more, thanks to Joe Alwyn finally hitting the bricks. And the one thing I will say is I think Matty Healy served a really important purpose in Taylor's life. I think Taylor, for so long, strived to be so likable. And she strived to be the good girl.
Right.
And she tried to follow all the rules, right?
Mhm.
And even trying to be so perfect, she was castigated.
Yep.
And the public just gave her a horrible time for things that if a boy was doing them, just like she said in her song, The
Mhm.
Man, it would have been a chaste,
Mhm.
virtuous,
Mhm.
trajectory. So I think Matty Healy has a certain level of DGAF
Yep.
attitude-ness,
Yep.
DGAF-ness
Yep.
that Taylor really needs. Okay. Because
Yes.
I think that he hopefully showed her that she can be a little more empowered to
Mhm.
stop trying to be what people want her to be. And I think she's
Yeah.
so far down that road already,
Yep.
but I
Yeah.
want to see her really explode into it. And I think that's the function Matty served in her life. And yeah, I'm here for it. And I'm here for the breakup because I agree with people, though, that this was not a correct match.
Mhm.
And they were not meant to procreate and multiply and replenish the earth.
Yeah, I'm just so happy that the famine of Joe Alwyn and, the photos of their romance is over and that we are now going to be living in the feasting era. And thank you to Backrit as well.
There are seasons for everything, Chandler, and the sun has finally come out, okay? And spring is upon us after a long winter.
Let's go.
Okay, I want to talk to you about another piece of news that has come out. So, Chandler, did you hear a dissolution? So, Natalie
yes.
Portman and Benjamin Millipied, well, it's not a dissolution just yet.
Yeah.
However, it is a fundamental betrayal of trust.
Yep.
So, Natalie Portman's husband, Benjamin Millipied, 45, recently had an affair with a 25-year-old climate activist, Camille Etienne.
Oh,
Please, you guys, I'm so sorry, but if I mispronounce that, do not DM me. Like, what do you expect?
a climate enthusiast, an activist, whatever. I'm sorry. Let me just pause for a heavy eye roll.
Okay, so Natalie's 41, Benjamin's 45. He has had an affair with a 25-year-old climate activist, Camille Etienne.
Oh, gosh.
So a source says that it was short-lived. This is a quote from People. By the way, if something's in People, everyone, that means that this is basically the word of the celebrity. So this is basically their statement. It was short-lived and it is over. He knows he made an enormous mistake and he's doing all he can to get Natalie to forgive him and keep their family together. Natalie is incredibly private and has no intention of playing this out in the media. Her biggest priority is protecting her children and their privacy. All right. I'm going to state some facts and I'm going to allow people to draw their own conclusions. So, Chandler, do you want to hear how Natalie and Benjamin met?
Yes, I would love to.
On the set of Black Swan in 2009, where he taught her to dance. Okay.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So they currently have 2 children. And let's get into the affair a little bit more. So photographs published in French magazine show some evidence of the affair. And the magazine says in early March, the star of the Star Wars saga discovered that her husband was having an affair with a young woman. The magazine published images of Benjamin and Camille going into his office separately on May 24th and exiting 10 minutes apart almost 2 hours later. That timeline makes it seem like the affair was going on for at least a few months. Natalie and Benjamin's marriage was definitely on around that time, despite rumors of rocky times in 2022. They were at the Beyonce concert in Paris, May 26th, and were photographed kissing at dinner on May 29th. Okay, so let's get into who Camille Etienne is. Most Americans have never heard of Camille Etienne, but she's better known in France. She's friends with Greta Thunberg, classic. Has made a number of short films on the environment and written the book For an Ecological Uprising, Overcoming Our Collective Powerlessness. Apparently she's never read Nietzsche. The will to power lady. Like, get a grip. She was also named by French Vanity Fair as one of the 50 French women who made 2020. Okay?
I already know she would hate us.
Oh my gosh, she does not listen to our podcast. And we don't want her as a listener, by the way.
That's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is a 1-star reviewer after just like one slip of the tongue. So this is very frustrating and sad. And I totally understand everyone searching their souls right now, thinking, how could someone cheat on someone as beautiful, smart, and as talented as Natalie Portman? Here are a few things to consider, everyone. And I'm just speaking facts. Let's take a look at how Benjamin and Natalie's relationship began.
Okay.
As an affair.
Proceed.
Natalie Portman and Benjamin Millipied met in November 2009 on the set of Black Swan, for which he did the choreography. It was a classic muse and artist scenario. He was likely awed by her dedication, talent, and skill, making it so easy for him to fall in love with her. The problem? At the time, Benjamin was in a long-term live-in relationship with principal dancer at the American Ballet Theater, Isabella Boylston. Benjamin and Isabella had an East Village apartment and had just finished traveling the world together when Benjamin began his work on Black Swan. Now, we are not saying that Natalie is in the wrong for her husband's affair in 2023, but we are saying that a pattern of cheating on your fantastic partner is clear, okay?
Yeah.
And being unable to sustain monogamy seems to be something that is very much in his character.
Yeah. Oh, Lauren's exhausted from this research.
It's giving Tristan cheating on Chloe, okay? He left his pregnant girlfriend for Chloe. Yes, it is sad, but this is not the first time he did this. And I just think we need to, as women, see patterns, and we need to have discernment. And I'm not placing blame. I just think we need context for this, right? Because it's helpful to know that there were clues. It's actually more disturbing for me if this guy was just like the most upstanding of men,
right?
And suddenly he had fallen.
Right. I completely agree. I think that you need to look at how men operate in their relationships, whether that's their previous history, whether it's how they talk about their exes. You know, I think if a man refers to his ex, if all of his exes are crazy, you will probably become a crazy girl to him one day, a crazy woman, whatever. And you just have to look at the way that their brain operates around women and, you know, and their past history.
And the other thing is it's not about you. Like, it's not about you not being enough. It's about them being insecure.
Right.
Like, here's a list of women who've been cheated on, in addition to Natalie Portman. Beyonce, Sienna Miller, Sandra Bullock, Jennifer Garner, Halle Berry, Lauren Atkinson. I mean, icons of our time.
You caught me off guard. I was like, who's that?
I'm still getting used to the name. I was cheated on, not married, obviously. But I just
not
think
by Kagan as well. Let's just clear
definitely not by Kagan. Let's clear that air. I just think that it's so important to know, and it's hard to let this lesson sink in, because when it happens to you, you're just it's so hard not to feel like it's something wrong with you. But it is literally about that person's need for validation.
Right.
It's about their lack of moral scruples, their insecurities, their issues with commitment.
The lack of work they have probably done on themselves. Like, it's not like if you've cheated on someone, you can never come back from that, or you can't heal.
Totally.
But I just think your cheater better be in weekly therapy with BetterHelp.
Yeah, like, it is adjacent, I think, to recovering from alcohol abuse or recovering from some sort of abuse. Like, if that is something that you've done in your past, you need to have clearly made leaps and bounds of progress in your mental health. And I think, to bring it back full circle to Vanderpump Rules, I think about Jax, you know, like Brittany forgave Jax, and I listened to his recent episode with Heather McDonald on Juicy Scoop, and he seems so light years ahead of where he used to be.
Yeah.
So redemption is available to everyone.
Right. You sound like you're preaching the Mormon gospel, for the record.
I'm not about to bear my testimony, but I do think that the plan of salvation is real. I do think that you can become a better person.
I agree. And also, for what it's worth, women also cheat. This message applies to both men and women.
Yeah, it's so complex. I also think, like, look inward, everyone. Look inward, because it's so easy to think you don't have the capacity for that. But I mean, I think that really it takes a lighthouse, having a moral compass, knowing the monster within you, as someone would say, to understand, you know, the things that people are capable of when life gets hard, and the acts of desperation that they can fall to. And that is why people do need a North Star.
Yep.
You know what, Chandler? I wish Benjamin and Natalie well. Please use the code POP on BetterHelp for your free trial.
Your journey.
Benjamin and Natalie.
The journey ahead. Blessings on your road.
Blessings on your road. They're not actually, by the way, sponsors of us anymore.
So that was free.
I just don't want the FTC coming after us. Okay.
Hashtag not ad. Not an ad.
Not an ad. And they're not associated with this podcast in any legal way anymore. Okay. So I want to tell everyone that I did do a trip to St. Bart's with some girlfriends last weekend. I was talking to you about it, Chandler, and I was like, is this annoying to talk about? Like, is this getting tone deaf and stupid? Or should I do like a guide to St. Bart's?
Yeah.
Because I want to be aware. The St. Bart's trip we did in a very, I think, economical way. And so I want to share all my tips, the ways to do it like as cheaply as possible if you need to,
Yeah.
and still have the most like rock and roll and good of times. So I think what I'm going to do is like a quick 10-minute episode that's a standalone.
Great.
That way, if someone's searching St. Bart's on podcasts and they just want to hear those recs, they don't have to get through the betrayal of Benjamin and Natalie in order to hear about Nikki Beach. You know?
Absolutely. I support it. I think this is a great way to organize our travel stuff. And I think we're going to try to do this, for a lot of the destinations we go to.
Yes. Maybe we'll call it like pop travel. We need a name for it.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm planning a trip to Italy currently for September. And so hopefully I'll do one of those after.
You better. Okay, everyone. One more thing before we depart. I want to talk about Aaron and Sarah Foster's podcast. Now, it's not really good business to like shout out other podcasts and to advertise competitors. Mm-hmm. But I'm trying to live in a space of there's enough for everyone, an abundance mentality.
Totally.
And I think that if you love this podcast, it's so bad because it's literally like a free swap. But let's be honest, we're not on their level. So it's not that useful for them. Aaron and Sarah, their podcasts, their episodes with each other, you will love it if you love this podcast. And I highly, highly recommend listening. And I want to share a few reasons why. So Aaron and Sarah Foster's podcast, like this podcast, it really reveals the minds of other people, which is kind of scary. Like being able to, like, once you've listened to someone for so many hours, you really kind of know their neuroses, their insecurities. Right. Like, it's so easy. And that like almost like spooks me out how well a lot of people or some people know us, me specifically.
That's one thing that's come across when I've met listeners in the wild. People who, I still can't believe I meet anybody who listens to this podcast that isn't like us and mom. But when I meet people, I feel like they really know me and like know what I'm going to joke about or know what like they just kind of know already my bits, not my like physical bits, to be clear, but they like they just like know my shtick, if you will. Mm-hmm. And I think that is something that is a little jarring to me always because I'm like, oh wow, like I've really danced for you all, you really know who I am.
Yeah, I heard Michael Bosstick say it on The Skinny Confidential. Like when you have hundreds of hours of content up there, you cannot hide who you are. Mm-hmm. And it is really so true.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is so strange, like the one-way intimacy happening on this podcast. Mm-hmm. But I will say, when we do see someone in the wild, which happens like very, very rarely, it is like one of the most fun experiences ever.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So
I'm obsessed.
We absolutely love it. So if you ever see us, please say something because it will make our life.
It literally makes my life. Yeah. It always feels like surreal.
Okay. So anyway, back to Aaron and Sarah. I like their podcast because there's a few things about it I like. One is they live in a world that is very rarefied. Like they are people who they go to Gwyneth's house for dinner, not like regularly that I can tell, but like they're on the invite list to a dinner. They're on an invite list to a Goop promotional event. Gwyneth has joined their podcast.
They're in a group chat with other celebrities, which is, I can't even fathom that.
They're in a group chat with other celebrities. And what I think is interesting is like you hear their own neuroses and insecurities come through and like the reality of what it is to be surrounded by people with a lot more, frankly, like, and they talk about this kind of like success than you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they're still working. They're still grinding. They're on their grind.
Right.
And you hear they're striving. Like Sarah is very admittedly like financially obsessed and like doesn't feel like she has enough, even though she has like a retired pro tennis player life partner.
Yeah.
And Aaron went through so many years of trying to be a writer, trying so hard to be a writer and feeling like such a failure.
Yeah.
And even though they grew up in Beverly Hills, like you listen to talk about their childhood, which was so fractured. I mean, David Foster is on my shit list.
Right. Public Enemy #1.
That's like literally gonna be the title of my memoir. So much I think about David Foster.
Literally same.
And what he has done to those women. But I just think that it's so deeply relatable. And that is why I really like Kagan is brushing his teeth with a really strong electric toothbrush.
I can't hear it.
By the way, when I got a little snippy with Kagan earlier, it's because he started playing a super loud Instagram story feet away from where I'm recording this podcast. And now it's just buzz, buzz, buzz.
Looks like it's time to get that credit card. Time for card launch spending.
I have a software on here where you can't hear background noises. So I'm not just being a bitch for no reason, is my disclaimer. He literally too, he just like walks in, brushes, sees me like laugh, like joking about it kind of seriously, and just like, you know, doesn't care. Okay. We know who wears the pants in this relationship. Anyway, back to the topic at hand.
Yeah.
I think that it's so important to know that no matter what level of success or wealth or marriage you achieve and relationship, kids, whatever, you're always going to have people around you who have the capacity, if you are embracing the dark side of your personality, to feel insecure and not good about yourself. Financial insecurity is possible at so many levels of financial success.
Yep.
And so these girls have a venture fund together. And so anyway,
I think they like on the board at Bumble or something? Like they're like creative leads on like so many different brands and sit on boards and are by all means like big name celebrities.
Yes. And I will say too, there's like a lot of real wisdom happening on that podcast. Like Erin's talking, and they had this conversation where Sarah was like, your show got picked up by Netflix. Like, why aren't you blasting this more? Why aren't you like talking about this on Instagram more? And Erin's like, because if it's successful, people will know about it. I don't have to tell them about it.
Right.
And I think there's like some real lessons in like show, don't tell, you know, let your success be your noise. Yeah. Like I think that there's some real wisdom happening, and the back and forth, Chandler, is so you and me. It is so
totally.
you and me.
Totally.
I am Sarah. You're Erin.
Yeah.
And it is like so eerie to listen. Like Sarah at one point was like saying how she doesn't understand why when she posts a thirst trap, she'll get like hate comments that are like, you're so vain. Whereas if someone with like a more, you know, like a curvier body posts a thirst trap,
I remember this.
Women get like so many compliments.
Yeah.
And Erin had to like break it down for her.
I know.
Like she was in the first grade.
Like flashcard style.
Like, yes, Sarah, like these women have never had their bodies celebrated publicly. So there's a reason why this conversation is happening.
Right.
And it just, the back and forth, it's just good. The good lessons.
So good.
Good girls. I'm so into them.
Okay. I also want to plug another huge podcast that I don't think it even matters that we're like, that people might listen to them who might listen to our podcast because they're on another level. But I think Smartless has a similar like fascinating angle for me because it's also three big celebrities. It's Will Arnett, Jason Bateman, and Sean Hayes. And they're all like really great friends. And it is just so interesting to me to hear the inner workings of like celebrities being friends with each other. And hey, like, you know, the other night we were at dinner at Larry David's house and blah, blah, blah.
Right.
And it's on another level, but I find it to be so fun. And they also have like a Netflix special where they like went on tour. And I just think like their dynamics are just amazing. And I think there's different levels of success between the three of them, but I think they neg each other, but then they also celebrate each other. And yeah, I feel like Smartless is just another excellent podcast.
Yeah. I mean, now people are never going to listen to this podcast again. We have officially lost our listeners and we probably should. No, I'm just kidding.
I think also, Laura, like people who listen to podcasts listen to like 18 at a time. You know, no one's just like listening to only one podcast.
No, it's true. And honestly, I find myself like, even though I'm such an avid consumer of content and I constantly have AirPods in, I cannot even walk across the room without picking a podcast first.
Right.
I find myself like not having something to listen to frequently.
Yeah.
Like, there's so many hours in the day to fill with content.
Speaking of the Smartless documentary, which I highly recommend to anyone on Netflix who wants like some easy watching, Jason Bateman clearly has some type of like orthorexia, like disordered eating situation because he is constantly talking about food and how much other people are eating and making fun of them. So I think that's like very interesting to see play out in a man. You know, I think that's like something as women we're used to encountering, you know, with either within ourselves or like, you know, with other women. But I think it's very interesting to see it with a man. So that's one thing on a more serious note. And then Will Arnett is, I think, one of the funniest people ever. He was telling this story. They were all talking about how great Brad Pitt is, right? And Will Arnett was like saying that basically they were at this event or party or something where Brad Pitt was, and they were talking about how he's just like the most normal guy, you know, just from Missouri. We have mixed thoughts on Brad Pitt, but I do believe, you know, that if you were to encounter him, he's like a very nice guy, despite having
he's certainly affable,
maybe having, you know, a shadow side. But anyways, Will Arnett speaks about how Brad Pitt came up to him and said, "Hey man, I watched every episode of your show. I loved it. And like, you did such a great job." And then he gave him like a big hug. And Will Arnett said that he was like, "Oh yeah, like thank you so much." And that he kind of like walked down the hallway and then just like found a room and then quickly slid down the wall because he was just like so overcome with like Brad Pitt, you know, celebrating him. And then without even missing a beat, Jason Bateman goes, "That's so great. Who do you think he thought you were?"
That is hilarious.
Isn't that so fun?
That's
I mean, and that's just like a little snippet of the way that they like neg each other without even like, they don't even skip a beat, and they're just constantly giving each other a hard time.
Bringing each other back down to earth.
Literally.
Like
that's so great.
Yeah.
Who do you think he thought you were?
Yeah, I need to listen to more of that podcast. I'm trying to listen to like smarter podcasts right now and less like total drivel.
Well, I'll say it's not that smart. It's just them like having like chats. So.
This is the part where we talk shit on Smartless.
I'm just saying it's not like, you know, Sam Harris.
Yeah, who I actually have new issues with, but I'll talk to you about that offline.
Time for me to once again revoke my $5.99 a month, something I've done 20 times at least.
I love Sam Harris. I just think he's fundamentally misguided on certain really important topics, not political. So before anyone calls me out for anything, this has nothing to do with politics.
Like psychedelics, or
it's not something I want to talk about publicly quite yet.
Okay. Well, we will wait till you're ready.
Till that blessed day. Okay, Chandler. Well, thank you so much for getting up at 8 a.m. in order to record this podcast on camera before you go into your 14-hour workday. Like, oh my gosh, the devil works hard, but Chandler Bledsoe works harder.
Thank you.
You're welcome for being here today with this podcast with you hosting.
I appreciate you.
Thank you so much. So everyone, we really need your help. Chandler and I are idiots in a major way, in so much that we have done a podcast for 3 years without doing calls to action, like at the beginning and end, which is apparently really important.
Huge. For someone who works in marketing, I kind of missed that one.
The only time we ever did it was when we were like offering people money in the form of a giveaway. Right. So we're going to please ask you, share this podcast. Help us grow this podcast that we've been working so hard on for now 3 years. Help us grow our wings, because what I will say is that the more we grow, the more content we can make, the more things we can make. We have a lot of big dreams for the show. Yeah. We want to do more episodes, more content, more. So please share. Put a link of this episode on your stories, on your Instagram stories.
Yeah. Use the little link button on Instagram. Pop a little link in there to your favorite episode. I think when people share a podcast that they like on their story, like I know for me, I constantly am like screenshotting podcasts I want to listen to. So it's just a really good organic way of like spreading the word if you like this podcast and you feel like the people who follow you might also like it.
Absolutely. Also, another thing, please subscribe to this podcast. Go on Apple, on your phone, wherever you listen, and hit the follow button. Spotify, hit follow. Apple Podcasts, hit subscribe. Please do that. That really helps our numbers. So if you can do those two things, and if you're feeling extra benevolent, give us a 5-star review. We would be deeply, deeply appreciative. And with that, we will catch you on Patreon on Friday. Love you guys.
See you Friday. Bye.
Bye. That's all for now, folks. Don't forget, give us a 5-star review, hit us up on Instagram at PopApologists, and we will see you next week, live every Wednesday.